You see, one of the fundamental mistakes men make is thinking that in order to gain a woman's attention, they have to chase her. They assume they need to prove themselves to her through excessive compliments, grand gestures, and relentless pursuit. But that entire approach is flawed from the ground up. The truth is, if you're doing all the chasing, you're automatically signaling that she holds all the value, and that you're just hoping she'll find you worthy. And that never works, not in the long run. It might create short-term attraction, but it erodes respect. And respect, fundamentally, is the soil in which true desire grows. Instead, you have to become the kind of man that she wants to chase. You need to embody value. You need to become the prize, and that's not about arrogance, and it's certainly not about playing games. It's about recognizing your own worth, building yourself up in a way that makes you naturally magnetic. Women, like anyone else, are drawn to strength, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and physical strength. Not just muscles or money, but the kind of strength that radiates from a man who knows who he is, what he stands for, and where he's going. Ask yourself, are you pursuing excellence for your own sake, or are you doing it to get someone else's approval? Because if it's the latter, she'll sense it. She'll see that all your effort is externalized, that it's performative, and it won't captivate her, it'll repel her. But if your progress is authentic, if it's driven by a deeper purpose and grounded in self-respect, then everything changes. You don't have to chase anyone, they'll feel it, they'll come to you. There's something immensely powerful about a man who's comfortable in his own skin. A man who walks into a room and doesn't feel the need to dominate it, but who also doesn't shrink back. A man who listens more than he speaks, who doesn't seek validation but gives it when it's earned. That man is rare, and rarity is attractive. When you show that you value your time, your energy, and your mission, she starts to see you differently. You're not desperate, you're discerning. And in that discernment, she feels the challenge. She wonders if she measures up. And when a woman begins to wonder you've already flipped the script. See, we live in a time where distraction is everywhere. Constant comparison, shallow interactions, false bravado. So the man who commits to real growth stands out like fire in the fog. He becomes noticeable not because he's shouting, but because he's grounded. He doesn't need to convince anyone of his worth. It's evident in how he carries himself, how he thinks, how he acts. And that presence, that quiet intensity, it pulls people in. Not because he's trying to be liked, but because he's too busy building something meaningful to notice whether or not he is. So stop thinking about how to impress her. Start thinking about how to impress yourself every day through discipline, clarity, and purpose. Become the kind of man who's so focused on what he's becoming that the right people are drawn to your orbit naturally. You'll find that when you stop chasing and instead start becoming, the entire dynamic changes. The pursuit reverses, and she'll chase you, not because you played a trick or said the right line, but because she senses what the world senses, that you're worth it. Most men don't realize just how unattractive neediness is, not just to women, but to anyone who's paying close attention. It's this subtle, creeping force that undermines your words, your actions, and your entire presence. And here's the thing, it's not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It hides beneath overly accommodating behavior, beneath texting too often, always being available, saying yes when you really mean no. And the message it sends is unmistakable. You matter more than I do. That's the death sentence of attraction. Because when you place someone above you, when your sense of peace, your sense of identity, and your emotional equilibrium depends on how one person reacts to you, you're no longer operating from a position of strength. You've surrendered your frame, and once your frame is gone, so is the respect. She might not even be able to articulate why her interest fades. She might say you're too nice, or that the spark just isn't there. But what she's really sensing is the imbalance. You've put her on a pedestal she never asked to be on, and now she's looking down instead of across. And I'm not saying you shouldn't care. I'm not saying be indifferent or cold. What I'm saying is that you need to be asterisk-centered asterisk. You need to have something inside you that no one can take away. A place you stand firm regardless of what she does or doesn't do. When you stop needing her to respond a certain way, when you stop hinging yourself, worth on her attention, you become someone who's deeply grounded, and that asterisk is attractive because independence is magnetic. Not the kind of independence where you pretend you don't care or play aloof games. That's still rooted in insecurity. I'm talking about real internal independence. The kind that says, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and while I'd love to have you along, I don't need asterisk you to come with me. That's rare, and that kind of energy can't be faked because it's built. It's forged in the fire of solitude, of challenge, of walking your path without applause. That's where real confidence is born. Women can feel it. They can feel the difference between a man who shows up from a place of lack and a man who shows up full. One is trying to get something from her: validation, intimacy, significance. The other is offering something: his presence, his integrity, his direction. And the moment you shift from trying to extract something to simply offering what you are, the dynamic changes completely. She doesn't feel pressure. She feels curiosity. She wants to know more about the man who doesn't need her, but still chooses her. You have to become emotionally self-sufficient. That doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It means your feelings don't control you. You're not on edge waiting for a reply. You're not overanalyzing every look or word. You're busy. You're building something. You've got friends, purpose, drive, laughter, meaning. And whether she texts back in 5 minutes or 5 hours, your day is still full. Your life is still meaningful. That's the paradox. The less you need her, the more she feels drawn to you. Because now you're not a man who's trying to win her approval. You're a man who's already approved of himself, and that's rare, that's powerful. So when you stop being needy, when you stop looking to her to fill the void, you start to radiate something she can't help but notice: freedom. There's a deep instinct in all of us, men and women alike, to be drawn toward direction, toward purpose, toward something that is moving forward. It's not always conscious, but it's undeniably there. When a man knows where he's going, when he has a vision, a mission, a target, that's not just admirable, that's deeply attractive, because it signals more than competence. It signals stability, momentum, and the promise of growth. And growth, for a woman who's paying attention, is one of the clearest indicators of a man worth chasing. Now, you might think that means you need to have it all figured out. You don't. In fact, the illusion of having everything perfectly sorted is often a facade. What really matters is that you're aiming at something. You have a goal, something that pulls you out of bed in the morning and demands your energy. You're moving with purpose, not drifting with the tide. And that changes how you speak, how you walk, how you relate to others. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You're building something so compelling that people naturally want to be part of it. A man without purpose is a man who drifts. He reacts to life rather than shaping it. He fills his time with distractions, endless scrolling, empty entertainment, meaningless validation, and women see that. They can feel the passivity, the weightless, anchorless quality of someone who doesn't know what he wants. There's no gravity in that, nothing to pull them in, and so they lose interest, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct, because a man who doesn't lead his own life can't be expected to lead anyone else's. But when you're on your path, everything changes. You become less available, not out of strategy, but out of necessity. You're building something. You have priorities. You're not always checking your phone because your time is already spoken for. You're not constantly asking her what she wants to do because you've already planned something meaningful. That kind of presence creates security. It creates respect, and in that respect, desire flourishes. Purpose isn't just about career, by the way. It's deeper than that. It's about aligning your actions with your values. It's about finding something that stretches you, that demands more of you than comfort does. It could be a business, a creative pursuit, a mission of service, or a personal discipline you've committed to. What matters is that it's real and it's yours, because when your life is built around a real goal, you stop becoming reactive. You stop letting emotions or other people's moods dictate your direction. You become a lighthouse, steady, focused, and when a woman sees that, when she feels that kind of presence, she instinctively wants to be near it. Now, you're no longer chasing her. You're inviting her into something greater, a future, a movement, a direction, and she can sense that this isn't about flattery or attention. It's about momentum. You're not just flirting. You're leading, and leadership is one of the oldest and most powerful attractors known to humanity. Not domination *, leadership *. The ability to take responsibility for your life, to aim upward, and to bring others with you. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop stalling until everything is perfect. Start moving, start building, because when you're walking a path with fire in your chest and clarity in your eyes, you won't need to chase anyone. They'll want to be part of it, and she'll feel it. There's something almost primal about the power of mystery, something in the unknown, the slightly out of reach, that draws us in. It's the reason we're captivated by stories we don't yet understand, why we're pulled toward what's just beyond our grasp, and in relationships, especially early on, it's the same. A man who reveals everything, who lays himself bare too quickly, who explains himself at every turn and seeks constant reassurance. He removes the tension, he dissolves the intrigue, and without intrigue there is no pursuit. There is no chase. It's not about being deceptive. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding that part of what draws a woman in deeply, genuinely, is the sense that there's more to you than what she sees on the surface. That she's only getting a glimpse of what lies underneath, that who you are isn't easily packaged or quickly understood, and that's important, because when you keep a part of yourself reserved, not hidden, but reserved, you invite curiosity. You create space for her to want to know you. And that wanting, that wondering, is what fuels the attraction. Most men feel the need to over-explain themselves, to constantly clarify their intentions, to respond instantly, to let her know exactly how they feel at every moment, and they do it because they're afraid. Afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of losing her, afraid of being perceived as distant or uninterested. But what they don't realize is that the more they do that, the more they remove the very energy that makes them interesting. The more they give away, the less there is to discover. You need to leave room for interpretation. You need to be okay with her not knowing everything right away, because a man who can sit with that ambiguity, who isn't desperate to explain or impress, is a man who's in control, not of her but of himself. And that control, that quiet self-possession, is magnetic. It makes her lean in. It makes her pay closer attention, because now there's something at stake. She has to earn access to you. And when someone earns something, they value it more. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be cold or distant. In fact, warmth and mystery can exist at the same time. You can be kind and engaging while still holding something back. You can be present without being overly available. You can listen without rushing to be understood, and when you do that, you stop being predictable, you stop being safe, and you become something much more powerful. You become compelling. She needs to feel that there's more to explore, that you've lived, that you've thought deeply, that your life has depth and complexity, and those things are not things you say out loud. They're things you show through your actions, your pacing, your restraint. Through the way you let silence hang without anxiety, through the way you respond slowly, deliberately, like someone who chooses his words, not someone who spills them. That kind of presence suggests that your attention is valuable, and that it's not given away lightly. When she doesn't know what you'll say next, when she isn't sure what you're thinking but knows you're thinking something, it captivates her. She starts replaying conversations in her mind. She starts wondering what's really going on behind your eyes. And when that happens, you've entered her thoughts. Not because you forced your way in, but because you left a door open, and then walked away. One of the most overlooked yet deeply powerful aspects of attraction is the presence of standards. Not just preferences, but asterisk standards asterisk. A clear sense of what you accept, what you allow into your life, and what you simply won't tolerate. And this doesn't just apply to behavior, it applies to how you live, how you carry yourself, who you spend your time with, and what you expect in return for your energy. When a man lives with high standards, you can feel it before he says a word. He doesn't need to announce it. It's woven into how he moves through the world. Too many men these days abandon their standards the moment they meet a woman they're attracted to. They lower their expectations, excuse red flags, tolerate disrespect, or pretend to be someone they're not just to keep her interested. And what they don't realize is that every time they do that, every time they sacrifice their values for attention, they send a very clear signal: I don't believe I can do better. That's not confidence. That's desperation, no matter how well it's disguised. But a man with standards, real internalized standards, doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't adjust who he is to fit someone else's mold. He knows what kind of energy he wants around him, and if someone doesn't meet that, he doesn't get angry or bitter. He simply walks away, not as a tactic, not to punish, but because he respects himself too much to allow something lesser into his life. And that self-respect is felt. She feels it when you don't immediately respond to disrespect with neediness. She sees it when you say no without guilt, and it sends a different message entirely. I value myself. I don't need your approval because I already have mine. Now, this doesn't mean you become rigid or inflexible. It means you become discerning. You don't chase just because someone is beautiful. You don't compromise your peace just to avoid being alone. You're selective, not because you think you're better than others, but because you know that alignment matters. You know that the kind of relationship you want isn't built on impulse or convenience. It's built on mutual respect. And that respect starts with how you hold yourself when you communicate high standards, not through lectures or lists, but through your behavior. It creates a subtle challenge. She realizes she has to earn your time and your presence. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're not easy to impress. You've done the work. You've faced your flaws. You've held yourself accountable. And now, you expect the same from those who come close to you. That's rare, that's attractive. Women don't chase men who beg for attention. They chase the men who demand excellence, not out loud, but by being excellent themselves, by holding a vision for what they want and refusing to settle for less. And it's not just about dating. It's about how you approach life, how you treat your body, how you manage your time, how you invest in your mind. If your standards are high across the board, she sees that. She feels that, and she instinctively wants to match that energy. So stop lowering the bar in hopes someone will stay. Raise the bar and see who rises to meet it. Because when you walk through the world with real standards, the ones worth having will chase you. One of the deepest truths in attraction, in relationships, and in life itself is this: people are drawn to those who are already full. Emotionally full, psychologically full, spiritually full, not perfect, full. Full of life, full of conviction, full of meaning. When a man carries that fullness within him, he's not looking to be completed. He's not scanning the world for someone to fix his emptiness. He's not reaching out with an open wound, hoping a woman will come along and bandage it. He's already whole, and because of that, he becomes a source of strength for others. He becomes a light they want to stand closer to. A woman can sense immediately when a man has built a life he genuinely enjoys. When he's not waiting for someone to come along and rescue him from his boredom, or validate his worth, or finally give him permission to feel like he matters, when he's passionate about something, when he's committed to becoming something. When he laughs without needing an audience, when he moves through his day with a sense of purpose even in the mundane, she feels that, and it creates a gravitational pull. The mistake so many men make is believing that attraction starts when she shows up. That somehow they'll begin living more boldly, more confidently, more joyfully once they have someone beside them. But that's backwards. You don't build a life in response to love. You build the life asterisk before asterisk, and that life creates the conditions where love naturally wants to reside. A man who lives richly, even when he's alone, sends a very different message than a man who waits for companionship to justify his existence. And here's the irony: when you stop focusing so much on being attractive and start focusing on becoming fulfilled, you automatically become more attractive, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because your energy shifts. You stop grasping, you stop needing, you start radiating something steadier, you start creating, you start becoming, and that energy is contagious. This doesn't mean you need to be busy all the time. It means you need to be asterisk engaged asterisk with your work, with your health, with your ideas, with your community, with your growth, because a man who is fully engaged with life isn't empty. He's not sitting around waiting for attention. He's not pacing his apartment, checking his phone, wondering why she hasn't texted back. He's building something that matters to him, whether or not anyone else notices, and that kind of man is rare. Which is why, when a woman sees him, she feels it deeply. It also makes you less reactive. You're not emotionally volatile, swinging up and down based on how someone treats you in a moment. You have a foundation. And that foundation makes you calm, calm in conversation, calm in conflict, calm in the unknown. She can trust that your emotions aren't dependent on hers, that your stability isn't on loan from her approval. And that makes her feel safer, because she doesn't have to carry the weight of your self-worth. When you live a full life, you're not chasing anyone, you're not trying to force anything. You're inviting the right people in and letting the wrong ones pass by without drama. You're magnetic, not manipulative. And when she sees that your happiness is not up for negotiation, that your joy is not on hold waiting for someone to arrive, she feels the difference. She feels the strength. And strength like that, that's what makes her chase